All right, guys, we have a very special guest here with us. The owner of several handicapping awards, heard on 55 radio stations weekly, co host of Locked On Bets podcast, and the owner of Paramount Sports. We have Lee Sterling with us today. Thanks for coming on, Lee. How we doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Always be a little bit better. Could always be a lot worse. That's the way I look at things. So, I like this time of year. I mean, so much going on. Grown to love hockey and UFC. They weren't part of what I used to do a few years back. Um, you know, I love the UFC. I think it's incredible. I have trouble now. I'll watch some of the other lower level fight, the LFA and Titan and a few of these other circuits, looking for guys that no one's heard of so we can get a long shot when they come in to the UFC with their first fight. I think it's incredible. I used to be a boxing fan. I don't know about you, Nick, but I'm a little bit older. I'm actually 59. I've just turned 59, but I used to walk around middle school with the Ring magazine. Loved boxing. But
Yeah.
I can't watch boxing anymore.
Yeah.
I am bored to tears watching it.
UFC is the new boxing, right? Nowadays, boxing, you got the guys that just run around the ring and avoid the hits. And back in the day, there was more shots, right?
I don't know what it was. I just think that UFC has kind of captured the imagination. You can win so many ways.
Yeah.
Guy can be losing going into the last 30 seconds and he comes up with a certain submission hold or it keeps your once a boxing match, usually once someone starts taking over, it's usually one-sided, but there's so many different facets, from punching, submissions, the ground attack, and I think it's evolved, only getting better. I mean, those athletes are the best. I mean, we talk about football. I grew up playing high school and college football, and they're great athletes. Basketball is amazing. They're in great condition, but being hit 15 to 25 minutes, incredible.
Nonstop. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Lee, do you want to get into some of these divisional games here?
Sure.
We got four great matchups. This turned out the way it should be, right? So I have a stat here before we get into the specific games. I ran into this. The past 3 years, the teams with the rest that had the bye are 9-1 straight up and 7-3 ATS. So we'll kick it off here with Cincinnati and Tennessee is the first game. Cincinnati against playoff teams, 5-2 straight up, 6-1 ATS, negative 68 yards per game margin. Tennessee's 4-3 straight up, 4-3 ATS, and a negative 341 yards per play. Joe Burrow's 1-0, which was last week, and Tannehill's 2-2 in the playoffs. The other thing is this is the only game that these teams haven't played each other this season.
Right.
What's your take on this one, Lee?
So this is probably the strongest of the four. I think you got to pay your dues once you get into the playoffs. I've seen that happen many times. And it comes down to, you can look this up. People get all enamored with great offense. I love watching wide open offenses. But almost always the national championship game, the champion, and the Super Bowl, the champion, will come down to who plays the best defense and doesn't beat themselves. Thought in college football, there's two teams on defense, Alabama and Georgia. Some great offenses out there, but still got to stop people. And I think Cincinnati's going to be a tough out. I think they're the best team of the four, and I see them ascending in their division. Whereas Baltimore, well, they did have a lot of injuries this year, but I don't think they're real talented anymore. And then Pittsburgh, I think they've got to rebuild, whereas Cleveland, the whole organization, is not real good from the ground up. But
right.
I love Joe Burrow. I think he has everything you want in a championship quarterback, and I love Jamar Chase. I don't think the rest of the team is ready. So I think the front seven isn't good enough. Hendrickson will play. We found out recently. And offensive line, I think, is their weak link here. So what I think Tennessee is going to do, if you look at stats, blitz fifth most. Over the last 5-6 games, they've gone to more zone. And I think that's works out better defensively playing Cincinnati here. So if they can get Henry to carry the ball 10, 12 times and get 50, 60 yards from him, I think that's a big benefit. And those two receivers, big, strong, and fast for Tennessee, who are finally healthy. First, I think it's got to be one of the first times since the start of the season, either or both are not on the injury list. I think they're going to be tough covers here for this Cincinnati secondary. So, Tannehill does some stupid stuff once in a while. You know, we see the Carson Wentz is trying to get rid of it last second, similar to what Stafford does once in a while, making mistakes. But I think Tennessee at home, I think it's going to be pretty electric, similar to Cincinnati. And I was talking to someone lives in Cincinnati. They said if you want to get into a bar or a sports bar, this game, plan on coming 5 to 6 hours early. So I'm happy for Cincinnati. I don't think their time is now. I like Tennessee. I think this is going to be the one blowout, something like 30-14.
Okay. Yeah, I think Cincinnati has a bright future, but Tennessee has the experience. Henry's coming back. I mean, a lot of people aren't talking about the receivers. Everything's about Henry coming back, right? But those two receivers are key to this offense. Cincinnati has a weak running game, right? Cincinnati also, they're one bright spot for Cincy. They haven't turned the ball over in the past 5 games, so that they're taking care of the ball. But we'll see.
Pass rush for Tennessee, it could change, Nick. You know, put the heat on Joe Burrow. As good as he is, we saw in the first year, in his rookie year, and once you get into the playoffs, you're going to face most of the teams you're going to face are really good pass rushes. Now, Oakland was decent with Crosby, but there's a couple frauds in the playoffs. Let's be honest. Pittsburgh and Philly had no business being there.
No, they didn't. They did not. So we'll move on here to the next game here. We got San Francisco and Green Bay. It's like these games just keep getting better, right?
Right.
Green Bay. So these teams played in the regular season. Green Bay won on a last-second field goal, 30-28. San Francisco ran for just 67 yards. San Francisco turned the ball over 3 times compared to 1 turnover for the Packers, and penalties, Green Bay had 7 compared to 4 for the Niners. We have the Niners with the better straight-up record. The Packers with the better straight-up record against playoff teams. Packers are 6-0 ATS against playoff teams, and the Packers are plus 350, whereas the Niners are plus 184 against playoff teams. So this will be the 3rd straight road game for the Niners. They're 7-3 on the road this year. What are your thoughts here, Lee?
So Aaron Rodgers is the best cold weather quarterback I've ever seen. And I go back watching the Bart Stars, some really good ones, but I've never seen a guy play better in cold weather, snow, rain, not even close. So if you're betting against Nick Saban, Aaron Rodgers, and Tom Brady in the long run, you're probably living under a bridge.
Yeah.
But I think the best way to attack this game is put them in a 2-team 6-point teaser. Won the first game with that last-second field goal. They were up 17-0. They kind of relaxed, allowed them to get back in. Now, San Francisco with Elijah Mitchell, they've been a different team. He came back 2 games left in the regular season. A lot of people didn't know about this kid. I was shocked he lasted the 6th round.
Yeah.
I played football at Texas State when I was there with Southwest Texas State. Saw a game a few years back that they played, and I'm like, wow, this kid's like a man among boys. He's breaking tackles, big, strong, fast, and they got a steal with this kid. I think they're going to be able to run the ball more than they did in the first game, just different with him in there. I still just can't trust Jimmy G to win the game. He's going to make a mistake. Right. He's like Carson Wentz. He's going to it just takes a while. You just got to put him in enough situations. And I think Green Bay wins the game. The right way is to put them in a 2-team 6-point teaser. Tease it down from 6 down to a pick 'em, and I'm going to put it with one of the later games. And I just think it's the best way to attack it here. I'm still not totally sold on the Green Bay defense. I think they're good, but I think they can be had here. Special teams, okay. San Francisco, I think they got nothing to lose, and that pass rush is really good. So beat a Cowboys team that I told people penalties had coach. What was crazy about that was coach was still trying to justify him running that quarterback draw sneak
right after the game.
So, and he goes, "Well, we were at the 50-yard line. No, you were at the 41. You weren't at the 50. He didn't realize where he was." And you got to understand rules, Nick. I'm going to give you a rule. So obviously they brought it up that the official, I knew that it had to touch the ball, before they can start play. So that's why I would never run it. I don't know if most people realize this. I've never heard any one broadcaster or coach bring this up or a player play it right. In college football, when a player, let's say you're down by 7 points and you're trying to tie up the game or take the lead and there's 30 seconds to go, and let's say you catch a 15-yard first down play in your opponent's territory and there's 20, 30 seconds to go in the game. What do we see the receiver always do once he catches the ball?
They always hands it to the ref, right?
Right. Exact wrong thing to do.
Yeah. Right.
Lay the ball there. Lay it there. Make the referee. You've got to set it. You've got to get the ball set, and they got to get the chains lined up before they can start play. Every kid either runs it in, hands it to the ref, or puts it where it should go. The exact wrong move. Why hasn't one broadcaster, one head coach figured that out? So
that's true.
There is a difference between coaches. I bet you if you look back, if you looked at the grades, even Nick Saban and Bill Belichick probably were B students in college. Just the guys they're going up against were C or D students. So
right.
Think that when you see college games next year, you'll see I've never once seen a player leave the ball there. And it's the exact right move. So
that's a good
coaches
point.
just haven't figured it out.
That's a good point. Back to this game, it's clear who the offensive team is, right? You can't trust Garoppolo in a big game like this. Defensively, we have the 4th-ranked success rate on in rushing and passing for the Niners. Green Bay is 30th against the rush, which could hurt them. This is a new running game, like you said, with Mitchell and Deebo Samuel. That's going to be dual threat, so that'll be higher than 67 yards. So we'll go to the next game here. Real quick, the last 4 divisional playoff games, both of these teams are 4-0. 4-0. Next game, first Sunday games, the Rams and the Bucks. Rams won this matchup regular season 34-24. Neither team could run the ball. 35 yards for the Bucks, 76 yards for the Rams. Turnovers, the Bucks had 2, Rams had 1. Penalties, the Bucks had 7 penalties and the Rams had 1. So big advantage there in that game. Los Angeles Rams have a negative yard per play margin against playoff teams, and Tampa Bay is plus 321. So Stafford, as we know, got his first playoff win last week, and then I don't need to say anything about Brady. So what do you think about this one here, Lee?
I think the line's a trap. I think the line should be 4.5, 5. And I think they're begging you to play Tampa Bay. Like I said, I don't make it that often, but I think if you're going to bet this game, I think the Rams are the right side. Now, I don't fully trust Matthew Stafford. They got to play with the lead. I think they're going to put Jalen Ramsey on Mike Evans, and I think he's going to neutralize him. I think he's that good. So the Bucks can't really push the ball down the field without AB in the lineup. Running game has not been stellar. Their offensive line is beaten up. I mean, Philadelphia had 4 sacks, and Philadelphia's rush doesn't compare with the Rams here. So I think Bay's good, and they're getting, they've gotten guys back, and they're getting healthier. I think the Rams can do it here. I love what the Rams running the football last week here. I thought their play calling was good. They could have been a little more explosive later in the game, try to put the game away earlier. But, I think it was a smart move. Sometimes when you're up, 17, 21 points, the play isn't, try to get wild with the ball and throw the ball around. So I just think it might be a good situational play here. I think they're begging you to play this here. And I think, like I said, I think Philadelphia was by far the worst of any of the playoff teams. Had no business. They were in the worst conference, and they were in the AFC. They probably would have been finished 10th or 11th. So weren't ready for prime time. Give me the Rams here. I think the Rams win this something like 27-24.
Okay. Good deal. Two good defenses, especially against the rush. But the Rams got Akers back. Could have two good running backs.
And he looked good. He wasn't like
he did.
He didn't look like, if you didn't know he had a major knee injury, you had no idea.
Yeah, that's true. And Fournette's coming back too this week. Is that right? I think I heard that this morning. He's back.
Yeah.
So maybe they'll have more rushing yards, but it's going to lie in the quarterback's arm, right? Stafford or Brady.
If I'm the Rams, what I do is I really play him tight. I make Brady throw the ball down the field.
Yeah.
And obviously Gronk is unguardable. When you get these tight ends like Kittle and Gronk, they're 6'6", 6'7", 260, 270, and run like the wind, almost unguardable. He's the only guy, I think, if Ramsey does a good job on Evans, I think they can give him some problems. So tough game, but I'll favor the Rams.
Yeah, it'll be a fun one. Good deal. We'll skip to, let's see here. Not skip to, we'll just go right to the last game here. The Sunday night game between Buffalo and KC. This is happening right here. I'm sitting up in the press box waiting for it. So we have the Bills winning in week 5, 38-20. They had 10 penalties. The Bills had 10 penalties in that game. KC had 7. So highly penalized game. 4 turnovers for Kansas City, 0 for Buffalo. So that was the difference, the turnover margin.
No, I think everyone remembers the game well. It was a Sunday night game.
Yep.
It was Buffalo dominated the game, was never in question here. Here I think you have 2 great quarterbacks. And I mean, what Josh Allen did scoring touchdowns on the first 7 drives against not a bad defense in New England. I mean, he made them look made them look like they were on almost an expansion team, throwing and running the ball. How many times have we seen a guy 6'5"? I mean, he has a cannon for an arm, and not only can run by you, he probably has 4.7 speed. He can run over you if he wants to. Would you want to tackle a guy that's 240, 245? I wouldn't. So I think these 2 quarterbacks are incredible. I think the best way I think it's going to come down to the last team with the ball. And either they come up with a touchdown or a field goal or just don't have enough time. So I think the best way is to take the line up from 1.5 in Buffalo, 1.5, 2, and take it up to 7.5 to 8. Put it in a 2-team 6-point teaser with Green Bay.
Okay.
That's probably the way I'm going to attack this game here. So great quarterbacks and probably similar type teams as far as both are playing at a high level. Can't see either team winning by 7 points or more. I mean, look at the Buffalo game against Tampa Bay. They were getting dominated, and Josh Allen got hurt in that game, wouldn't come out, and he willed his team back and took them to overtime. And they probably, if they were coached a little bit better, they probably should have won in overtime. And then the fluke Tampa Bay scores on the long busted coverage. So, or good call, whatever you want to call it. So, I'm gonna take this 7.5 and 8 in Buffalo, put them with Green Bay, 2-team 6-point teaser.
Good deal. Found an interesting stat on this game here. It applies to this game. In the past 15 games, that both teams scored 35 points or more in the previous game. there have been 2 overs and 13 unders in the next
Wow.
game, 87%. So I found that interesting because a lot of people see the last game here and they're going to just automatically play the over.
Right.
Not sure what I'm doing yet, but I thought that was interesting.
Oh, there was an interesting stat on the first game. I don't know if you saw this. Mike Vrabel with extra time to prepare. We're talking about, let's say, it's a Thursday night game, then they play the next Sunday or a bye.
Okay.
8-0 straight up and against the spread, and he's won by 19.8 points per game. So
oh, wow.
What that tells me is his coaches know how to prepare with the extra time, find some nuances where they can take advantage of, or he's able to get that team the proper rest and they slowly build and they play extremely well. So that was something that also led me to be on Tennessee pretty big.
Good stuff, Lee.
Yeah.
Well, that's the end of the games here. I appreciate you coming on again, man. Tell everybody where they can find you. I have it down. If you're watching on video, it's down at the ticker here. But tell everybody that's listening on audio where they can find you.
Okay, so Monday through Friday, I do a podcast called Locked On Bets. It's usually up on any of the different platforms like Spotify and all those different platforms. By 11 o'clock Eastern, usually give away 3 or 4 free games every day. Now, I might be looking at 7, 8 games, 10 games in a day. So I pick out 3 games based on interest and early line movement. I'll release on that show. Do it with a Q he's the talk show host and the program director in Las Vegas, and have some fun with it. And I have a lot of giveaways. I'll give away free service for a month often and things like that. So you might want to check that out. Here on 55 stations weekly football season, where I break down and predict the games. Hopefully win a little more than I lose. I've had some pretty good success based on a lot of people will just sit there, either look at numbers or the watch games. I do a little bit of both. My background, I don't know if you mentioned, I was a former college quarterback, played at when I was there was Southwest Texas State. Now it's Texas State in the early 80s.
Okay.
So I even go to spring games. I'm already mapping out. I have a friend of mine who has a private jet, and we'll go 3 straight weekends to 3 or 4 games each week. And sometimes we'll hit the practices the day before the game. And as I've got some contacts, we talk to some of the coaches, tell me some things. And if you watch a spring game, just different watching it than watching a game, and you find some emerging players. And I'll look at the backup quarterbacks. Everyone knows who the starters are, usually how good they are. But I'll pretty much target a lot of teams that have new coaches and maybe new coordinators and new starting quarterbacks. If I can get the jump to start the season strong. And like I said, it covers. I also sell my pick. Besides my website at Paramount Sports, sell my covers. So we're fully transparent on my website. On the homepage, recent results, you can see every game I've given my clients over the last 5 years. Once the game starts, it has the game. Once the game finishes, we fill in the score. So anyone doesn't have, there's a lot of guys out there, Nick, on Twitter and Instagram that are scamming people. I mean,
trust you. I know. I've been doing There's too many of it.
28 years. I've never gone 58-2, 35-3. It's not possible. Yeah.
No.
So these people
I'm 100% with you. It's very important, especially these days, to stay transparent. I release every single one of my plays every single night, regardless if I go 0-6. I'll still put it out there.
Well, I could get more business. The only thing I'll say is, hey, I've had, let's say, 3 winning weeks in a row, 4 winning weeks in a row, and then I'll lose, and even people will bust my chops. They'll say, you're in cahoots with the host. I'm like, no, look at the results. But, I could get a lot more business if I wanted to lie, but the results are out there. Covers has 37 handicappers. I won combined college and pro last year. I'm winning in the NFL this year at all their handicappers. We won in hockey. We were number 2 in baseball, and I think we're like running 3rd right now in UFC. But, everything's up and available. ParamountSports.com is the website. Or if you ever want to talk to me personally, sometimes catch me during the week before like 4 or 5 o'clock. You can call me 800-400-9741.
There he is, everybody. One of the best in the industry, transparent. And we appreciate you coming on again, Lee. This was awesome.
Thanks so much.
Good luck with your
having me.
picks this weekend, man. I'm looking forward to these 4 games. They should all be very entertaining. Put it that way.
It's the best set of 4 games I think we've ever seen. There's no slouches left this week. I mean, last week was fun because we got 6 games, but this should be a whole lot of fun. So thanks for having me on, and continued success. You do a great job.
Appreciate it. Take care. Take care, Lee.